Hello, everyone. We're live. I hope. Yes, we're live. So, welcome to our speakers. How are you guys? Thank you for joining us today.
Hello. I'm very well, happy to be here and to be part of the first October roundup of the Soul Street Journal. Well, the first roundup. But yeah, exciting to be here.
Yeah, exactly. How does it make you feel to be the first guest of this very first new series?
I feel like I'm making history. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be calling my mother and all of the relatives. And then, the next family reunion, that's going to be the topic. Hey, guys, I was on the first one, like the very
Yeah,
first one.
let me
We're
actually
writing history
update
here.
my resume right now, straight away.
Oh yeah. It goes on my LinkedIn, on my resume, on my Twitter, like everywhere. I'll be like, hey, I was on the inaugural Salt Street Journal roundup. So, you know.
Nice. So let's give it just some time for some people to join us before we jump into the fun part, let's say. Um, and actually, maybe let's just say a couple of words on the basic question: what are we doing here today? Why are we here today? So for anyone who doesn't know, just a few weeks ago, we launched this new newsletter. It is called Soul Street Journal. You can find it at soulstreetjournal.com. And it's a new bi-weekly newsletter. And the reason why we launched this is that we realized that our team at Neon realized that there is so much going on Solana that is truly hard to stay on track and be always up to date. So we thought, okay, let's fix it. But also let's fix it in a way that is not annoying. So by weekly cadence, and then at the end of each month, we come here on X and just have a chill chat to break down the main highlights of the month. So that's what we are doing here today.
Indeed. And when you think about it, there is so much information about Solana, but it's very fragmented. There are separate outlets with information about validators, and separate about retail, and separate about institutional. So it's really, really hard to basically have a single point of truth of what is happening in Solana land and how do I stay afloat with all the news. So yeah, I think that the Soul Street Journal is the newsletter that we all needed in the industry, and I'm happy it's here.
And probably the only one that you need.
Yeah, exactly.
The only one,
Wisely.
yes. Hopefully.
Yeah, so in the bi-weekly issues of the Soul Street Journal, you will find a lot of news, and then also a part where you can dive deep into, I don't know, podcasts, articles, guides, and everything. But here, of course, we have to keep it shorter. We don't want to go through any piece of news, so we just selected the main ones, and soon we will start breaking them down, scrolling the timeline with you. But yeah, I see that some people are already tuned in. So I believe, first of all, welcome again, guys, and we can start with the introductions. So myself, I'm Ginevra. I'm doing marketing stuff at Neon, and I'm super happy to host this brand new session. What about you guys? Would you like to give a short overview of yourself and your background?
Of course. I'm Vanina. I'm currently heading marketing at Neon EVM, having the pleasure and the privilege of working with this amazing team. And yeah, but myself, I've been doing crypto marketing for almost a decade, which makes me very, very old, I guess, but also very experienced in crypto. I have seen a few things. I started out as an Ethereum girly, turned Solana, turned Interop. So here we are.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean. Happy to be here. So I am responsible for partnerships at Neon Labs. So we work very closely with Neon EVM, with Vanina, Ginevra, whole bunch of awesome people. A little bit about myself. I've been in this space for 6 years, but felt like 15 years because time just passes so quickly. Before you know it, another year has just gone by with all the crazy news that have happened. So yeah, very excited to be on this first Soul Street Journal. I'm going to be sharing with this with all my friends, families. Say, hey, look, I'm on live right now on the first edition, and we are going to make it big.
Nice. All right. Thank you, guys. Let's start. So, October at a glance. Let's see what happened here. This month has been quite a ride, let's say. It all started so well with the token 2039. Everyone was super happy. And then, like the week later, the largest crypto liquidation event ever.
Man.
Like, not one-off, the largest ever, with almost $20 billion liquidated in less than 24 hours. And then the second part of the month was all about TradFi leaving its Solana era, let's say, with Wall Street pop-ups, ETFs approvals, and so many other things. So let's start from the very beginning. And I would ask Sean this one because you were there. You were at Token 2039, right? So how was it? What was your impression? And give us some alpha.
Man, when we hit October, I thought it was October, right? Because that's where we are always looking forward to. The charts go green, the candles go green. It's October, but a few days into October, it became up over, right? So
this is the first time I hear it, but it's so true.
Yeah,
we went from October to Oopstober very quickly.
Man. Yeah, but overall, I guess like I'm still pretty bullish in the market overall. It's just a bit unfortunate of the incidents that have happened. I mean, we'll probably discuss it later. But yeah, back to your question, Ginevra, on token 2049. I was there this year and I felt a little bit different from the past token 2049s that I actually attended. If you zoom out, this year actually feels like a Solana year because we see a lot more projects, Solana branded events and projects around Token 2049. There was Solana Apex as well. Super Team had a really good initiatives, hosting a lot of side events around Token 2049. And I feel like we kind of moved past the era of people asking, is Solana back? Is Solana still surviving? I think things have started to change a bit. It's not so speculative. It's a lot more, there's a lot more conversations going around like institution, capital efficiency, and institutional infrastructure when we speak about Solana these days. So you can literally feel the energy. No longer are the days where, Solana, at least back in the last few years, when people think of Solana, they think of like a meme coin launchpad kind of thing, right? But these days, it feels like more of an institutional energy. We see a lot of more structured products, proper financial primitives that's actually being built on Solana right now. So I guess overall, if you ask me, Solana isn't really seen as an alternative now, but it's more like an independent kind of like economy with its own liquidity, its own, base of like huge developer culture. Actually, I feel like all the Solana builders are also cracked. Every builder that I spoke with and interacted with, they are all very creative. They're coming with new solutions that people have not seen before, and it's all made possible on Solana because of its fast finality, low gas fees, and performance financial layer that we see today, as compared to like maybe a few years ago where you actually see Solana going down, the network halt and everything. But I think in the recent years, it has always been very stable. We haven't seen, the network been down so far this year and last year.
Yeah, that's true. I have to say the chain delivered on only possible on Solana line it was very on point, well demonstrated.
I
And
remember
going
the first time when I was interacting with Solana, I was just buying on a meme coins. I didn't really care about like the infrastructure layers and things like that. But I think things have changed a bit, like I mentioned, right? It's not so much about the meme these days. A lot of institutions are moving funds. We see ETFs as well moving into Solana. I think that's a very huge shift in terms of like where Solana is headed right now. I guess Token 204 kind of fuels that as well, because we see a lot more Solana events as compared to years ago.
Nice, great. And moving on with the painful part. So coming back to what happened on October 10, I remember it was a Friday because I was on a trip, and all of my friends were talking at me, and I was just staring at my phone thinking, what the hell is going on right now? And then just said, oh well, somehow we're gonna fix it. But this would be my next question to you guys. What happened that day?
If
Vanina.
we're ready to joke about it, what happened was a person who doesn't know how tariffs work triggered an event of liquidations for people who don't know how DeFi risk works. That's the TLDR for me. But yeah, I don't know. I was not one of the people liquidated, so I think I'm ready to joke about it. I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone.
Nice. Milestone, big milestone. What about you, Sean?
Good for you, Vanina. But for me, actually, I'm a huge victim. So I was actually asleep when that happened, and being complacent of, okay, my liquidation price is so far, I will never hit it in this cycle, right? So boom, and then it actually happened. But so I guess it's kind of like risk management as well, right? That was kind of like not present because I was just probably being greedy because the market was like so bullish and everything. And I guess like the tariffs when the news hit, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the timeline. When Trump actually announced it, there was a bit of delay before the market actually reacted, right? Maybe like an hour or 2 hours before the market actually crashed. So I guess what actually happened is a little bit of a sensitive topic here, but it's been debated and discussed already. So USDE actually went to 0.65 cents. And that actually caused like a chain reaction. That actually happened on Binance actually. So it actually caused like a chain reaction across like all the futures and put dexes that users have like margins open and things like that. So with that depack, actually it kind of caused a lot of liquidations, and even to a point where the system couldn't handle. Stop losses were not executed. And all the kind of like orders just got put through by the liquidation, right? And I mean, Binance kind of took it very seriously. They compensated users and things like that. I was compensated too, so I was a little bit happy. I got a bit of a rebate from my liquidation, but I guess overall it's kind of like a matter of like we need to kind of focus on what's more important right now, like how can users manage better risk when it comes to this kind of like crash flash crash events, right? So I mean, like it's really unfortunate because it's October. No one expected this, and right now we are in this phase where we are bullish, but we are also bearish at the same time. So it's kind of like neutral stance, right? If you ask me, it's only temporary. You see where Bitcoin came so far in the last couple of years, Ethereum, Solana as well. We've been through multiple events, FTX crash, Luna depack, and things like that, but we all still survive. I think with more focus on institutions these days, we see a lot of good funds coming in. ETFs are max bidding on certain days. That shows a very healthy signal that crypto is still very relevant, even though it's just like perhaps like a one-off incident. I feel like this is a mistake that this is probably good the event is good that it happened, so that exchanges will start looking into their systems. Dexes will start looking into their models and everything like that, to kind of give a better UX to users, and users would have to bear the consequences of failed systems. Yeah.
And speaking of fail safes and systems, I mean, I get it. It was a catastrophic event for a lot of people and organizations, but at the end of the day, it was also a great stress test for networks and stabilities. And we saw that Aave came out as one of the big winners in that. Same with Hyperliquid. So I think that silver lining, I guess. On the one hand, yeah, we should be a little bit more cautious with our risk management. I would imagine in the future, but also the systems are here in place to handle events like that.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, what happened after that brutal liquidation is that only a few hours later, everything bounced back. So basically, coming back to the previous levels as if nothing happened. But in my opinion, right now we are still in an uncertain phase of the market right now. To me, it's kind of like the market is not really sure where to go. So I want to hear your take on this one. Where do you think we're going now? And not financial advice, for a disclaimer. Sorry.
Absolutely not a financial advice. We're not qualified to give out financial advice. My personal opinion, though, is that we are not right now. It's that like super weird state where we're not in a bear market, but we're not in a bull market either. So I like to call that the cat market, or rather Schrödinger cat's market. We're neither here nor there. And a lot of projects and a lot of people are basically quietly observing, cautiously optimistic about where we're going to go. But yeah, in my personal opinion, again, not financial advice, great time for building.
Okay, what about you, Sean? Bold
Well,
predictions.
Bold prediction, not financial advice again. But I'm always a believer that we'll just go higher, just based on last couple of years, in terms of growth we see on BTC. Let's talk about the big three: BTC, ETH, and Solana. We've seen tremendous growth in terms of price action. Yes, there are instances where massive liquidation events happen, but we see a lot. I mean, put aside the price action as well, how this whole crypto narrative is going to shape is more institutions are coming in, with more clarity in terms of regulations and everything. I think that's going to be even better and safer for everyone to participate in the crypto broader ecosystem. And I feel like with all the recent kind of tariffs, with all the interest cut rates, speculations and things like that, it's all kind of part and parcel of understanding the whole macro market, right? Like, what's the strategy behind US in doing so? Why are they doing this? Why are they imposing this? And I feel like if you look into the kind of outside of crypto, if you look into gold as well, I mean, just before the gold actually took dip, I think gold was going up a lot, and I think that kind of the tariffs and everything kind of fueled the shift in terms of crypto to gold, and bonds to gold as well, and things like that. So I guess overall, I believe Trump is a very smart person. He is a businessman after all, and whatever he's doing is just my personal opinion. If you are a Trump supporter or hater, please don't yeah, come at me. Yeah, but I feel like he's a really smart guy, and we just need to kind of play around his cards, right? He can just suddenly come out and say, okay, we are imposing a tariffs this week, and then say, oh, we are not imposing a tariffs this week, the next week. So I guess it's just, if you're a trader, me myself, I'm a trader as well, so just manage your risk well, trade accordingly to macro news. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, if you ask me, I'm still bullish, but it's just a very slow pace kind of bullish because a lot of negative factors are actually pressing down. But I guess it's just a phase that we will eventually get by.
I am still bullish as well. And I think there are many good reasons to be bullish, especially on Solana. So I believe this is the time where I share my screen and let's go through it together. Okay, so I bookmarked everything I have received and I'm not afraid to use it. So first off, I would say for sure the ETFs approvals. We have seen so many. I chose to show this tweet from Solana because it's super fun and also bullish. But in the order we had the ETF in Hong Kong. So Asia was the very first one to adopt an ETF. Then it was followed by Bitwise staking a Solana ETF. And then yesterday, Grayscale with the GSOL ETF that we have right here. So ETF, institution, TradFi, but let's break it down for everyone and me included, to be honest. Sean, can you explain to us what exactly is a staking ETF in simple terms? What does this mean for our ecosystem and what's its impact in the short versus long term, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really great question, right? So for those of y'all who don't know what an ETF is, ETF is basically an exchange traded fund, right? But when we look at staking ETF, I guess the easiest way to put it across is basically a fund that kind of holds Solana, and basically you can kind of like buy this ETF, you hold it and you participate in staking, while investors actually buy this ETF shares on investors actually buy ETF shares on traditional markets, right? So instead of having of running a validator or even managing a wallet, you can actually earn you can actually have exposure to Solana, plus you can actually earn from the staking yield through a kind of brokerage account, right? So for in this instance, how it works is the ETF actually holds the Solana, stake it in with the validators, collect the rewards, and kind of reflects those return with the shareholders. So I believe if you guys have seen the news recently, there's been a lot of news fueling around Solana ETFs. So in terms of the short term, the narrative fuel, I feel, with the capital inflows that we see over the last few months from traditional investors who does not really have that kind of exposure to crypto, but they are able to participate in purchasing these ETFs, and that potentially could drive short-term kind of like positive upward price pressure and higher staking participation, right? And from a long-term perspective, what I can think of is having more Solana being held in institutional custody, that gives us a better, a deeper and more stable staking base, and then also kind of like leads to like yield normalization versus traditional assets, right? And overall, this gives a very strong, validator kind of economics. If you like me to actually sum up like the short term and long term, how I look at staking ETF specifically on Solana is this actually bridges like a lot of TradFi capital and staking on chain. So it's kind of like merging the best of both worlds together, and that's really very huge in terms of how we adopt crypto into like traditional finance, if you ask me.
Yeah, nice. Thank you so much for breaking this down for everyone. And sorry. What am I doing? Should I post?
No. You want to post a meme?
I'm gonna post a bullish on Solana ETF. Okay, let's move forward because there was another huge news always related to TradFi. We had the Western Union, that is the world's largest money transfer business, announcing a new launch of a stable coin coming next year. And they also specifically said that they are building exclusively on Solana. So this month really felt like the moment where all the institutions are choosing Solana. So Vanina, what do you think is the reason behind Solana itself, and why now? And why Solana also compared to other chains like BNB or Base, for example?
Right. I'm going to start with the example of Western Union. Western Union is a tool used primarily by underbanked societies. It is a way for people to do remittances in areas where the banking and the TradFi system has failed them. So the alignment is there. It makes sense to see. I'm honestly surprised that it took them so long to come on chain. And then choosing Solana makes sense, not just for Western Union, but for TradFi in general. Because at the end of the day, TradFi is a very monolithic structure. They have their ways. They don't want to fix anything that ain't broken. So they have their expectations and their standards for cost, for latency, and even for narrative, and for storytelling, if you wish. So if you look at things at a larger scale, you can't really build high frequency systems, for example, on chains that are not predictable in terms of fees. And this is where Solana comes in. The deterministic low fees are basically a feature here that attracts TradFi. Then the latency that I mentioned, people in TradFi, I mean, are obsessed with their milliseconds. And again, we've got the parallel execution of Solana here that delivers those block times that match those expectations. And basically that's the closest thing that we have to real time right now. Then there's the infrastructure that, again, the Solana infrastructure is here to support the needs of TradFi, and I think we all saw that. I mean, it wasn't a planned example, but it shone light on the stability of the infrastructure that we have with the AWS outage earlier this month as well. And then the narrative that we have. Solana used to be a retail chain. It used to be a meme coin chain for a very long time. That was the public perception, I feel. And now we're moving towards the everything chain and the infra chain and the internet capital markets narrative. So again, TradFi loves that performative side of things. And I think that it makes sense for it to jump on the Solana bandwagon. Are there any other chains that can probably deliver a similar experience? I'm not sure at this point, to be honest. You gave the example with Base, for example, or BNB chain. BNB is currently mostly retail, and retail DeFi. So it's good for liquidity. I'm not sure it's ideal for compliance. So that might be an issue that puts TradFi off. Then Base is a great chain, no shade on Base, but it still remains limited by the bottlenecks of Ethereum. At the end of the day, there's no, like, it doesn't really solve a lot of the issues that Solana does. And I think that this is why TradFi is mostly attracted to Solana. That's my 5 cents, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, the problem with the other
different
chains is that are not Solana, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I agree.
Again, not financial advice, but
All right, let's move on because I don't want to make these sessions too long, and we have a lot to discuss. This one, Uniswap. Uniswap launching on Solana. This is just yet another DEP joining the ecosystem, because I believe also 1inch some time ago did almost the same. So we are seeing Solana becoming more and more part of the multi-chain strategy of many different dApps, from DEXs to wallets and beyond. Of course, this is a great news for the ecosystem, also considering the technical differences that there are between the SVM and the EVM infrastructure. And let me do a shield here. That's why projects like Neon EVM exist, like to make life easier for developers, because when a project like this has to launch on Solana, it really has to put the effort to do it. It's not something easy to do. But beside this thing being extremely bullish, Vanina, what do you think is the deal here? Meaning, who is really crossing over? Is it more Ethereum users migrating to Solana, or more like Solana users using Uniswap, in your opinion?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking it. I'm not sure about the answer, to be honest. The one disclaimer that I want to do here is that a lot of crypto users, crypto is still a very small market, and a lot of users are multi-chain. So in a way, I see that Uniswap adding Solana is a form of validation that blue chip crypto protocols should be and need to be multi-chain. So there's that. Then I see that at this stage, at least, I see that more as of a supply side integration. So we see the protocol moving towards Solana, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the users and the liquidity are going to follow, or at least not immediately. We haven't really seen that yet. So, it remains to be seen. But yeah, I think that the crossover is mostly protocol first, and users and dApps and liquidity second. That's the way I see it. I don't know if you have a different opinion. Happy to discuss.
Yeah, Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Vanina, right? I guess most users these days, whether it's on DeFi or other areas of crypto, most of them are multi-chain, right? We don't really just see users on Ethereum, right? They have exposure to other ecosystems as well, like for example Solana, right? To access some of the applications of Solana, to trade some of the meme coins of Solana. So I guess back to your question on Uniswap Labs, integrating Solana, I guess it fits in very nicely in terms of like cross-chain interoperability with other ecosystems as well, because that way they can actually capture more users from both ecosystem. And I saw like in the last couple of weeks, the inflows from like Ethereum over to Solana has increased quite a bit, a good percentage over the last few weeks. So that also kind of like hints at people are starting to move their assets across to different chains, like specifically on Solana, because there are definitely more more kind of like more interesting new applications coming in. Institutionals are launching on like Solana, building on Solana, like we see with like Western Union as well. So I think it's a good start that a lot of these protocols are slowly kind of like integrating Solana. And I guess that's kind of what Neon EVM does as well, right? Helping EVM networks to kind of bridge into Solana, deploy your applications onto Solana without any kind of like hard rewrite of your entire code base. So it's definitely a very interesting. I mean, we will definitely see a lot of more protocols like going into this approach where they actually either natively integrate Solana, or like find a way to kind of like bridge liquidity, access liquidity into Solana. I think gone are those days where we just say, oh, we are only building on Ethereum. Now we have to look into like different kind of like multi ecosystem approach. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I believe these days not being on Solana is a super expensive and risky decision to make. That's what all this news have in common, at least. But since we're talking about DEXs, let's say that also the Solana native DEXs are not chilling right now, meaning, for example, Jupiter here, they had so many news coming out over these past weeks. We had a new portfolio tracker for tracking the performance of your portfolio over time, and a new prediction market. But the greatest news coming from Jupiter was this Ultra V3 launch. And basically, this promises to enhance the performance of their DEX in so many different forms. We see here price, execution, protection. So it looks very promising what they are building. Sean, since you are more like technical, you're also a trader. What do you think about these new developments going on in the DEX ecosystem? What this launch do say about how DEXs are evolving to meet the traders' needs and expectations?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? For Jupiter, they are kind of like a DEX aggregator, right? So, what essentially happens when they introduce this, Ultra V3? Actually, it is definitely a very huge, improvement for the DeFi ecosystem, specifically in Solana, right? I guess with the new Iris router, I haven't really took a deep dive yet, but from what I understood, it's basically a better kind of protection against like MEV. And you can kind of like, they basically with this V3 they aggregate like with a lower fees of, we see it to about 8 to 10 times with a kind of unified routing across perps, spots, and also futures as well. So for Jupiter specifically, they have been evolving quite a bit. Recently they also had like the Jupiter Mobile. They gave a huge push on it. They also have like the Jupiter perps. Personally, I use quite a bit of Jupiter. Sorry, Phantom, but I move most of
Me
my.
too.
I mean, just purely UI and UX, right? It kind of like makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And also the speed of execution. I mean, if you guys haven't actually tried Jupiter Mobile yet, I feel like you guys should, because it's really insanely fast. I mean, especially on top of Solana as well. So huge shout out to Jupiter guys. You guys are doing super amazing job. But yeah, I mean, like in the whole kind of DeFi space, we see a lot of DeFi protocols starting to kind of move into a very CEX like experience, right? What users want these days is like fast finality, instant execution, like deep access of liquidity, or even like gasless trade. What I mean by all this is basically kind of compressed into like what we call it a simple UX, right? I don't want to be like clicking multiple approve buttons, finding ways to get, especially when onboarding a new user into DeFi, right? You have to teach them how to use gas fees. They can't even make their first trade even if you send them like a token, because they need a gas fee, right? So I guess we kind of eliminate all this friction away. And I mean, Jupiter has always been kind of ahead of others in doing this. And I think in the broader DEX ecosystem on Solana, I think why we need this to be implemented is also because we see a lot more institutions coming in, right? When these institutions come into specifically Solana DeFi, they want everything to be like super fast, right? And I guess we need to be up to date in terms of our systems to be able to handle that kind of like load as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And looks like that everything they're working on with this new upgrade is like, at least in my opinion, because I'm not a pro trader, I just trade sometimes and almost shitcoins. But it's something that can truly make a difference for any kind of trader, from the institutions to the retails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The team is shipping non-stop. We also saw this new collaboration with Calci, the prediction market protocol, where you can basically put your predictions on the Formula One Mexican Grand Prix in collaboration with Jupiter. I think it's on beta. But this brings us to the whole prediction market movement. Because we see here there are a lot of new projects jumping into this new meta. This one, Worm Predict, is for permissionless prediction markets powered by AI, but also other applications of the same concept. For example, this one from Realms to DAO voting. It's not something new. I remember Drift has a similar approach for voting that has a prediction market behind. But this signals that there is a demand for this type of services, at least in my opinion. But let's say that honestly, everyone is betting on betting because at the end of the day, prediction markets are betting platforms, let's say. So, Vanina, what do you think about prediction markets in general? Is this just a temporary hype, or in your opinion, there's a real market forming here?
I feel that I am in a particularly good position to answer this question because my career started out in gambling. So having that background and that experience under my belt, I just say that gambling is here to stay. It's deeply rooted into human nature. And I feel that there's a lot of actual real demand in betting. And again, I'm saying that as somebody who once placed a bet on which Galapagos turtle is going to arrive first to their nesting ground.
Can I just share something? Yeah, like Danina, on your point on gambling and betting, right? Like I can't even access Polymarket if I wanted to because it's actually blocked by the Singapore's government because it's under the
Probably
Gambling
it's better
Act.
for you, Sean. They are protecting you.
I was going to say it's probably for your own good. Yeah. No, but see, that's the thing. When we talk about prediction markets are literally, as you said, Jen, this is literally a rebrand of betting, whether it's sports betting on, like, we call it sports betting, but it encompasses multiple different events on which we can bet. And a similar thing has been done in financial markets, for example. Like if you think about forex trading and contracts for differences, right? It's called spread betting in the UK. Why? Because UK has a regulator that says, no, you cannot call it contracts for differences. You cannot call it forex trading. It is spread betting. You're betting on the spread of a particular currency pair. Let's call things as they are. So I feel that it's similar here, like especially in the context of Kalshi, because they're offering sports betting, which should be registered by different type of regulators. And again, speaking of my experience in the gambling industry, gambling is a heavily regulated industry, and there's a reason for that. There are a lot of responsible gaming fail-safes there to protect people from getting addicted, because gambling addiction is real. And it can be very detrimental to one's life. I've seen that with my own eyes, again, having worked in the industry for a long time. So we need those regulations. We need those protections to protect us from ourselves. This is kind of like, we've talked about founder-led marketing and team-led marketing. And what we have here is regulator-led marketing. The regulator goes and says, hey, this you cannot offer that. This is illegal in like these 17 states, for example, including California and Texas. You're not allowed to offer your services. And then Kaushi goes and says, oh no, wait. We're just an exchange platform that allows people to trade contracts, and we're regulated by the CFTC. which puts them in a very precarious position because they're A, regulated, B, regulated by a regulator that doesn't regulate gambling and doesn't know how to regulate gambling, if that makes sense. So it is a very smart way to position things. Is it sustainable? I don't think so. I think that prediction markets as a service are here to stay, but I also think that the bigger they get, the more regulated they're going to get. Frankly, don't shoot the messenger, but I think that a little bit of regulation there would actually be good. Because the demand is there. We just need people to be a little bit more protected and a little bit more. We need a little bit more oversight on that.
Yeah, thank you so much for this take. I think it's super important, and thank you so much for explaining the reason behind the next rebrand, that the last rebrand of many that we saw. So let's move on with this one, Kill. Kill, Solana's capital engine, powered by or like launched by the Sky ecosystem. So for those who don't know, Sky is the ex MakerDAO team. So seeing this kind of OG people in crypto joining Solana is a very great news and a strong signal about what are the expectations on Solana, at least in my view. But I think so I also saw that they were on stage. They have been speaking about this new release. But I would like to ask you, Sean, since you're more technical in this part, what is this kind of capital engine in, let's say, simple term, and what do you think it can achieve for capital on Solana now that we are seeing also all these institutions coming to our ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I honestly haven't really took a very deep look into this capital engine, but at least from what I understand, maybe I can just share a bit. When we think of Solana, people always see it as like, it's just trading, swapping, just for fun, not really seeing it as like a kind of like an infrastructure. But now with like Sky, they have come to kind of build a kind of system, a kind of like credit and stablecoin system natively on Solana, right? I think this is really huge in terms of like the whole DeFi native capital narrative, because it's not only just optimized for Solana speed and UX, but it is also kind of like in terms of like long term as well. We see capital building, lending, better kind of treasury systems as well. I guess it also means that assets can kind of circulate within Solana instead of just bridging in and out of Ethereum. That is also very kind of like a more efficient way to kind of like for the whole capital markets, right? So for users and devs, this actually kind of strengthens the monetary base. For institutions, it signals that Solana is kind of ready for like this kind of serious financial primitives, not just like your DeFi or like your meme coins and things like that. I don't know if Vanina, you have anything you'd like to share about this, if you have any insights.
I think you summed it up pretty well. I don't really think I can add anything that would be more valuable.
Yeah, the real DeFi, let's say, but the people maybe from other ecosystem like to say, because there was this vision of Solana being only for meme coin. The real DeFi is actually coming to Solana, and the projects are moving on with many different projects to enhance the DeFi dApps that power this shift. Okay, I would like to.
Crypto is maturing in general. So yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But like crypto is maturing, so it just makes sense for the DeFi OGs to be I wouldn't say jumping ship, but to be exploring alternatives as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, this entire narrative, which I have to say, the Solana team is doing a banger job shifting the narrative. So I think that we'll see a lot more of that coming.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, before we wrap this up, we cannot fail to mention this tweet from Mert because it went crazy on X. So I would say let's go through it together because he literally said today Solana changes forever. He talks about a major RPC upgrade made from Helios that basically redesigns how Solana is able to archive data and optimizes data storage. All I see here is like 10x, 100x, and way more. So my question here, Sean, if you would like to answer, is okay, this looks for sure super bullish for developers because it makes things easier for them. It's another approach to Solana storage and everything. But what do you think this actually means? What is the value that this kind of improvement bring for the builders?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, right? I guess like the biggest problem that we always see, when accessing blockchain data is, towards archival data, right? Because you need to kind of like do a lot of queries. You need to look back into the Genesis block to kind of like pull, archival data from the first block itself, right? So with this kind of like upgrade specifically from Helios, I think maybe I'll just speak a bit on the historically how it works on Solana, right? So to kind of like, it's gonna sound a bit technical, but I try to keep it as high level as possible. So to kind of get a old transaction for a wallet or a program, you use kind of like get signature for address, and then kind of loop each signature and call get transaction, right? And if you want the very first transaction of a specific address, you had to go like backwards of like you have to make multiple like or even like thousands of RPC calls, which can be extremely slow and expensive, right? And many kind of archival queries, actually hit, Google big tables or like shared infrastructure. That actually means latency, increase in latency, and obviously bottlenecks as well. And I guess like with Helios launching this brand new kind of like new archival system and RPC method, which they call it the get transactions for address, it basically combines the two methods into one call. The two methods in this is get signature for address and get transaction into one calls, which then eventually you then eventually make like fewer RPC hops. And you can also kind of like, I think I kind of experimented with it a bit as well. You can actually filter it by time, by slot range, and its statuses to kind of like let you know whether the data that you access, whether is it successful or has it failed, right? And there's a lot of cool things that you can do. You can also potentially like have dedicated archival nodes that's not like shared big table, which actually means lower latency and obviously more reliable performance as well. And how this actually matters for devs, and the whole ecosystem in general is queries that once require maybe thousands of RPC calls can now be executed into one single call. That actually brings down a lot of cost and obviously latency on the network itself as well. And latency across the archival methods also will also kind of drop dramatically. From, I mean, if we look at the P99 benchmark, we can potentially see from like 3 seconds to like a sub 300 milliseconds on some developer or on some benchmarking metrics as well. I guess like not just on the Helios side, a lot of like up and coming or strong contenders like Alchemy or like or QuickNote, they are doing a lot of improvements on the Solana space as well. So I guess with Helios launching this new archival system, there's definitely going to be a lot of new unlocks for developers, in terms of cost, in terms of overall applications latency, And I think this is a really, really huge step for, Solana, because when we look at Solana, we have these limitations of like, account size. We have this limitation of like, transaction CU limits. And also like, obviously we want to kind of like be able to kind of, move more transactions into one single call. That will actually bring down a lot of like latency issues as well that we see on Solana.
Yeah, very insightful. Thank you so much for breaking this down. I think that I for sure have a better overview than I had when I read this tweet. So hope that it has been helpful for anyone listening to this space as well. Okay, so guys, I believe that we can now wrap it up because basically we're done with the news. So. But before we really wrap it up, I want to remind you once again to get the full overview of the updates that are happening on Solana. Feel free to visit solstreet.com and subscribe to the newsletter. And I have one last question to ask to our amazing speakers today. So if October on Solana were a song, what would it be? But giving just the title, no explanations.
Homecoming.
And Sean?
That's a really tough one. You caught me off guard there. I was gonna say like Back to December by Taylor Swift.
Oh, nice. To me, it's gonna be Golden, the K-pop song. Golden.
You
Okay.
nailed it. You nailed it.
We nailed it. We all nailed it. Okay, guys, thank you so much again for joining us today. Thanks to everyone that stick with us until now. And see you soon, and see you next month for the next Solana Roundup.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, as Jeannie said, tune in next month. And in the meantime, go to soulstreetjournal.com, subscribe. It's free. And you're going to get a bi-weekly overview of everything in Solana land straight to your inbox.
I'm going to try the YouTube method. Subscribe in the link below.
Yeah, click here. We don't have anything to click on, but...
There's no click, but, just still click.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.